Ezekiel 4, 1 through 2, the brick is laid. And you, O son of man, take a brick and lay it before you, and portray upon it a city, even Jerusalem. And put siege works against it, and build a siege wall against it, and cast up a mound against it, set camps also against it, and plant battering rams against it round about. Overview: the prophet is unable to speak and communicates non-verbally to the people. The brick is Jerusalem, Jerome. The prophet is the preacher instructing the people, Gregory the Great. Jerusalem is the brick, Jerome. Jerusalem is to be represented on a brick, and the brick itself is to be placed before the prophet, so that when it looks like Jerusalem in the dust, it can portray the whole blockade against it. The preacher and correction, Gregory the Great. There are some things that are to be reproved severely, so that when a fault is not recognized by the one committing it, he may appreciate its gravity by the verbal reproof. Or when he glosses over to himself the evil he has done, he may have serious apprehension for himself owing to the asperity of the reproof given. It is surely the duty of the ruler to reveal the glory of our homeland in heaven by preaching, to show what great temptations of the ancient enemy are lurking in this life's journey, and to correct with severe and zealous asperity those evils in his subjects that cannot be treated with forbearance, lest being too little incensed against such faults, he himself be held guilty of all. The inward siege, Gregory the Great. When we know that one thing is accomplished according to history, and we recognize that another lacks any reason according to history, we are to hold both in Holy Scripture, since we are to believe that the siege of Jerusalem, which according to the meaning of the words happened later, is prefigured in the words and deeds of the prophets. And yet another siege, an inward one, is meant by it. The preacher and the brick, Gregory the Great. Every teacher, when he accepts any earthly hearer of the teaching of the heavenly word, takes a brick. Preparation against temptation, Gregory the Great. A teacher ought to come to know which temptations beset the progressing soul, in order that he may be able to prepare it to be on its guard against the traps of the evil spirit.